Well, I think the public understands sovereignty in pretty concrete terms, actually. It's about, for example, how many of our laws are made by Brussels, how much of our money is going to Brussels, how many human rights laws are made in the ECHR, even though actually the European Court of Human Rights doesn't have anything to do with the EU. And it's also obviously about whether we can control our borders or not. I think sovereignty is certainly a crucial part of the Leave campaign. It's just that they don't talk about it explicitly because sovereignty is a fairly abstract concept to try and get across. They talk about it in terms that people will understand, and that has to do with our contribution to the EU budget. It has to do with the extent to which the European Court of Justice can override our laws, the extent to which directives can actually drive legislation in Parliament, and of course the control of migration through our borders. Yeah, I mean, UKIP and parts of the Conservative Party have got a very absolute version of sovereignty, which says you either have it or you don't have it. And any kind of impingement on the UK sovereignty, whether it be financial, legal, political, is seen as illegitimate. Most other political parties, I think, have a more fluid conception of sovereignty. They regard it as something that can be pooled, and indeed can be pooled to the advantage and to the greater power of the UK. On the other hand, I think those political parties find it very difficult to talk explicitly about sovereignty because it's a hard concept to get over to people, and also it gets them into the territory where perhaps if you're keen on staying in the European Union, you're rather weaker than the other side because it brings up questions of borders, it brings up questions of budgets, and it brings up questions of European law. I think as far as England and Wales is concerned, most people have a view of sovereignty which really is rooted around the idea of borders, lawmaking, budget contributions. I think there are two parts of the UK, however, where sovereignty is, if you like, more of an issue in some ways. One of those would be Scotland, where you've seen as Scotland has moved towards thinking about independence and, of course, even voting on independence. I think a popularisation of the idea that sharing sovereignty with Brussels would actually allow Scotland to exist independently of the United Kingdom. And that's a very different conception, I think, of sovereignty than most people in the British Isles have. And then there, of course, is Northern Ireland. And in Northern Ireland, certainly people in the unionist community, I think, do have a pretty absolute version of sovereignty. It's not something that they want to share with Brussels, not least, of course, because sharing it with Brussels also, to them anyway, involves sharing it and pooling it with the Republic of Ireland, and that's something which, for many people in the unionist community, is an absolute no-no.